Buongiorno, comment ça va? And this is the delicious podcast of psychoactive substances or some shit. No, not really. This is X-Cox Cheeto speaking, and to tell this story of the second time I got high on marijuana. So, it was a stormy, delicious night. No, not really. It was a clear night. It was late summer, and it was a few nights after the first time I got high. And my friend let me have some of his weed to bring home with me for use with my corn cob pipe. And I, of course, took some. And so I decided to go out for a night walk. It would be my first high night walk experience. Now, I wouldn't go too far from my house. I just went down the country highway near where I live. And I walked down to a farmer's field on the side of the highway, and I simply sat on it where there's sort of a ditch in the road. And I packed the bowl, and I smunked the herb. And of course, it kicked in. And I did this as I was looking up at the stars. It was quite a beautiful experience. Usually when I do this, it's a full moon, but tonight it was just starry night. Oh, and I was listening to Life of Pi. It was the Life of Pi soundtrack. And so that really suited the vibe quite well. And so I decided to walk down home again, of course, and this was my first experience of what I call treadmill walking. It's the sort of time dilation you feel when you're walking, where it feels like you're never making progress. It can be quite terrifying at times, but it's one of those things where you just have to trust that your legs will eventually get you where you're pointing them. And sure enough, I did get home eventually. But as I got home, I realized I was way too fucked up. I didn't feel confident going in the house and acting normal. So instead, I stopped outside of our outside garage. And I simply slumped down. I started going on my phone to pass the time by. I decided to go on the camera to see how my face looked, see if I'd be too fucked up looking or whatever. And I noticed that my camera couldn't see fuck all in the dark. And so I put my face closer and closer so it would make it easier for the screen to brighten up my face, because I put it on full brightness. And sure enough, after a certain point, I went from barely seeing anything to all of a sudden seeing a very red version of my face, because the screen's brightening my face up. And I felt all of a sudden like a burst of electricity hit my face when this happened, which was, it's just the cannabis buzz, but it made my face feel like it was buzzing when this happened. And so I started going through a phase where I bring my face in and out to the fucking camera. And it was bizarre. I felt like my face was going in and out of existence, and like my face kept exploding. And I probably look like a crackhead if anyone saw it, but this is just a rural country road at night. Thankfully, no one saw me. And so, yeah, I did that for a bit, and then I eventually went in. This isn't too much of a hyperbole and interesting mystical story, but it was my first experience of core feelings of the cannabis trip that I would later experience on other more intensive walks. I don't know why I didn't really experience much on this sort of quote-unquote trip, but it was just a nice little experience, I suppose, that showed the sort of pseudo-psychedelic qualities of it, how it heightens your senses for some things and dullens it for others. The time dilation itself is also rather psychedelic when you really think about it. And yeah, all in all, I don't really remember what happened when I went in the house finally, but all I know is I must have been staring at that camera on and off for about a good 10 or 15 minutes, it felt like. But who knows? I mean, this was a few years ago now. Anyway, yeah, this is my little story in Canadian Hyperborea. Hyper North, and yeah, see y'all next time.